Tim,
Howdy.
what is the most exciting thing that has ever happened to you in Quartzsite, Arizona?
So I was gonna try to say this. I didn't know you were gonna spring this on me so quickly. There's only one thing good about Quartzsite, Arizona. There is a jerky place there called Daniel's Fresh Jerky. The rest of the place is an absolute and complete shithole and should be avoided at all costs, unless stopping for gas, because that's one of the last places you can stop for cheap gas before you get to California. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, I've never had an exciting moment in Quartzsite. There's absolutely nothing redeeming about that city besides the beef jerky place.
yeah. So the beef jerky place, cheap gas, and that means you're taking the I-10, which it's a better route. For those of you that don't know, if you're driving from Phoenix to either LA, well, definitely LA, but you can also take the I-10 to San Diego, or you can take the I-8. The I-10's a lot better. Just never one-way roads, never dirt roads. It's solid. So, if you're driving through Quartzsite, that means you're doing it right. So, why does Quartzsite matter? It is one of the places where this movie that we're about to talk about takes place in. Nomadland, starring Frances McDormand, directed by Chloe Zhao.
In a crowded room, somewhere in town.
All right, Tim, why did we pick Nomadland?
It's pretty simple. There hasn't been a favorite like this for the Oscars in a really long time. I mean, it's not even worth betting on at this point. I looked at several sites, as you know, I'm prone to do. It's anywhere from -500 to -700 to win Best Picture, which is insane.
Damn.
For this point.
Yeah.
I've never seen lower than like -150. McDormand is +400 to win Best Actress. For those of you who don't understand the betting lingo, +400 means 4-1. So if you bet 100, you win 400. -500 means you've got to bet 500 to win 100, 50 to win 10. So they're heavy favorites for Best Picture. Chloe Zhao -1,000 for Best Director for this movie.
Lord.
That's pretty universal across the sites and Vegas. I've never seen a movie that was so far out in front. I mean, we'll talk about whether we like this movie or not a little bit later, but this is definitely like your typical Oscars movie that would have been in consideration during a normal year. I don't know that it would have been this heavily favorited, but I don't think that should take away from necessarily how good of a movie it is. But it would not be -500 in a normal movie year. I feel pretty comfortable saying that.
Sure. And just to give a little bit of background as to how well it's currently doing awards wise. So it got 6 nominations for the Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, including those. For the Golden Globe, it won Best Drama, it won Best Director, and it also won 4 awards at the British Academy Film Awards, including Best Film. So and the response that they got in China for this movie was insane as well. Everyone's loving this movie.
Yeah, and what's kind of interesting about this movie is that the book that it's based on was written in 2017. So it's a pretty quick turnaround from this novel coming out that isn't based on specific characters. It's influenced by a lot of different people that she met, but it's not based on anybody specific. But yeah,
Right.
the movie's done absurdly well so far in this void that we're all kind of stuck in right now.
So
were you
this
gonna say?
actually leads me into the question that I wanted to get into, the most important question that I think is: this the best moment for Arizona in our lifetimes?
Is this Arizona's peak?
Yeah, is it all downhill from here?
Here's the thing. I don't even know if it's the peak for Arizona in a movie, because it's in A Star Is Born, which is both of our favorite movies. And it
Yeah.
actually was filmed in Arizona in both of these movies, but they did film in Arizona for Star Is Born. So I'm pretty conflicted to say that it's the best Arizona's
What
been.
about you? What about Jerry Maguire?
Jerry Maguire, Tombstone, if you want to go like way, way
Tombstone.
back.
Tombstone.
There's a reference to Arizona in The Dark Knight Rises, which is solid. Alfred, when he's talking about the guy who steals the stones, is like,
Yeah.
He met a guy from Arizona once.
Oh, that's great.
It was one of the highest profile.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was like one of the highest profile references we've had, other than people making fun of ASU in popular culture for a while.
You know, that's one of Seth MacFarlane's favorite things. There were a couple, I believe, I think Ted 2 was on, he really, really went at it, which was awesome. But yeah, so go ahead.
He went full in on that movie to the point where you and I, who like to make fun of it as much as everybody, were like, damn.
And we both saw it at the movie theater that's basically on ASU's campus. And everyone just, but yeah, he's right. That was good.
Just correct. Getting into this movie. Yes. Budget of $5 million.
Yes.
Other than the Snyder Cut, we really haven't touched above the $5-10 million budget movie this far. I don't know what that says about us. Like I said, this movie's based.
I think we're picking movies that we think that we could have made with the same budget.
We see this and we're like, I can do that for sure.
Yeah, I might be able to swindle $5 million out of the studio.
Am I Chloe Zhao?
Netflix?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, they knew this was going to be amazing, so she didn't really have to convince them. They knew that this was going to be pretty decent Oscar bait, and it's, turns out it's well beyond just Oscar bait. With us, I feel like we might be able to get some dipshit from like Sony, the same one who, was making all the Suicide Squad edits. Like, if we can get that guy in a room, I think we might actually be able to make that work.
Or how about the guy who greenlit Venom 2, based on Venom 1 that nobody saw? I mean, some of the Chloe Zhao stuff is pretty impressive. She was editing this movie and The Eternals at the exact same time,
she's incredible.
This is Captain Obvious speaking, but these two movies could not be more different in terms of the tone and the way that you would be trying to edit them. She was doing it at the exact same time. Disney's already kind of flexing on the Eternals, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed this. They're like, no, she's real. You think she's good in Nomadland? She did really good on our movie, which is something I haven't seen in I don't think I've seen Disney do it that much, but they're definitely pumping it up. But like I said, this movie's based on a 2017 book. The writer who wrote it actually spent years following real nomads. And she would spend months at a time living in a van by herself to understand the people she was writing about. That's fantastic. I don't think I've ever been that dedicated to anything, but she spent literally years like just embracing the lifestyle to write this book.
Yeah. So there's method acting. What is that? Is that method writing?
I don't even know what you could consider that. I guess method writing.
So is she the Christian Bale of movie writers? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think of another comparison, but I'm drawing a blank. I mean, she had written other books before this, but none of them had like hit in the way that this one did. They use real life nomads in this movie. All of the extras are like really like that group of people. So
what was my boy Bob Wells an actual nomad?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, actually. I should have looked that up.
Okay.
He might have been. He might have been. But I mean, I knew that going in. And so I was looking at all the people around and I was like, yeah, there's absolutely none of the weird shit you see extras doing in movies. They're all just like, yeah, we're here around the fire. This is kind of what we do.
What we do all day.
Yeah.
This is our thing. This
is what we do. The author made this book, and this is where I have a question for you. The author made this book because she said she was fascinated by the plight of middle-class Americans who can't retire, so they work odd jobs to stay afloat. That's why she wrote it. My question to you is that what the movie conveys to you? Because that's not what it conveys to me.
No, it conveys to me how fucked our society is. Just in general, how fucked it is. Because we start with Frances McDormand's character, Fern, working a seasonal job at, I don't know, maybe you've heard of this company, Amazon. And then as soon as Christmas happens, as soon as it happens, she's out. Amazon at a fulfillment center cannot afford to keep her on at her, what, like, I forget what they said, like $7 an hour job, which she
Yes.
says is more than enough.
Yeah.
And then she's going to employment offices in the middle of nowhere and still can't get a job. Then, because she knows somebody, is able to get a kitchen job in the middle of nowhere. Like, we are fucked. If we have actual people with actual skills, that would rather live in a van in Quartzsite, Arizona, than find an actual area with, like infrastructure, with grocery stores, etc. Like, it didn't seem like she did this out of like choice. It really seemed like she did this out of necessity to simplify her life and to get away from what her previous life was, an empire. So if this was like an agency thing that she just like took control of her life, that'd be one thing. It very much seemed like this was her only option. And the film kind of tries to get into that it was her choice when she goes to her sister's. But ultimately now she's got like a sort of weird Stockholm syndrome with the van, and she just can't let it go.
Yeah. The interesting thing, you mentioned Amazon, and there's multiple moments when I was preparing for this that I had to pause and look up stuff. That was one of them. The way that they got permission to use the Amazon logo, and they used an actual Amazon warehouse for this. Frances McDormand wrote a letter to Amazon asking them to use it in the film. Wow. And they agreed. They agreed to have their likeness used. And what's interesting is this movie was made, I want to say in like the middle or early 2020. So it's been like a year.
Sure.
With all this stuff happening with the union and Amazon, I doubt that they would have allowed a lot of the news that has come out about how they treat their workers. I doubt they would have allowed this movie to use
their workers like literal shit.
Yeah, I mean, I was waiting for the defecating scene in a box or something, but
yeah,
there was, going to the beginning of this movie, there were so many moments where it's kind of like that scene in Moneyball where Billy Bean is just flicking the radio, where you're just like,
ooh,
there really is a higher level of acting to where certain people, when they're on the screen, are just captivating no matter what they're doing. The beginning of this movie where she's cleaning out a storage closet, before she's even spoken, she pulls out what's clearly like a men's denim jacket and just smells it and holds on to it. And I'm like, oh, her husband's dead. Like without saying it. And it's the kind of like mundane stuff that people like Frances McDormand have this way of just captivating us in those moments.
I felt that there are a lot of moments in this movie that I felt similar to Brie Larson's performance in Room, where literally, if this human being, and a little bit of Matt Damon in The Martian, but it was, that movie has a completely different tone, but in the same sense of, or even Castaway, and I have a Castaway thing here in a second. This movie only works, writing be damned, directing be damned. This movie only works if the person that the camera is being trained on for 95% of the movie, if not only they understand what's going on, not only do they understand what the Twitter thing, he or she always understands the assignment. Frances McDormand in this movie understands what the assignment is. Frances McDormand understands what she needs to do and how to do it at a very, very, very high level. So yeah. It's a phenomenal movie, and it's great directing. The shots of a place that I have very much wanted to leave for most of my life, it made me kind of like longing for it in an odd way. It was like, oh wow, how quaint, how, peaceful it looks, even though it's a fucking desert that gets up to 125 degrees. It
Well, it was in the winter.
It was, which then it gets into the 20s because it's an awful place. But to be able to make even someone like me feel a sort of romanticism about Quartzsite, Arizona, and the outlying land, it shows an amazing touch by Chloe Zhao in this movie. But my question, you're gonna say something?
Yeah, just really quick. There's definitely a lot of longing in this movie that I'll get to later. But another thing at the beginning that I just thought, because I've never seen a Chloe Zhao movie before this one, but
Same.
One of the things that convinced me that she's really good at this, she's Frances McDormand's character Vern is singing in the van in one of the opening scenes because the radio doesn't work. And there's no need to go into it, but like it tells you everything you need to know in that one moment. It's like the van's a piece of shit. There's things that doesn't work. It's eventually going to break down. And she's singing in order to create some sort of happiness in her life as she's driving hundreds of miles. I was like, you're really good at this.
Yeah. So my question to you, Tim, because I said I had a Castaway kind of point about this movie. So whose PR department are you more disappointed in? Amazon's or FedEx? Like whose PR department are you more upset about for allowing them to basically allow their client, their business to just get shit on for an entire movie?
Personally, I'm more disappointed in Amazon, which could just be said at any time of the day or night on any given week over the last several years.
Sure.
No, it has to be Amazon just because of the background of what's going on right now with their employees. And Amazon sets the tone for the entire movie. It's the first shitty job that we see her do. And it just kind of like puts you into that world of, oh, that seems like it sucks. That really sucks.
So hold on. You're telling me that a movie where a FedEx employee doing his job, doing it quite well, they have a plane go down with FedEx emblazoned on the side, it crash lands, everyone's dead, all the packages are lost except for the few that wash up on that damn island, and Tom Hanks is presumed dead because FedEx just doesn't give a fuck. Because FedEx just doesn't care to look for him. And then when he comes back, this same FedEx employee, who's been presumed dead, now comes home to, his wife's already remarried. He doesn't have a home anymore. And now he's got to drive out to God knows where to still deliver the package that he didn't open because he's such a loyal employee.
Yeah.
You're telling me that a movie where all that happens is still eclipsed by Amazon that's in the movie for 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I wish I would have done a rewatch of Castaway. When I think of Castaway, I think of the middle 50 minutes where there's no dialogue more than anything else. I remember the FedEx plane going down, but I forget about all the stuff that happens when he comes back. For some reason, I just throw away that part when I think about that. You're right, though. You're right. That's tough stuff. You may have convinced me in 2 minutes to side with you.
Yeah, because every single time I watch Castaway, it's like, FedEx, what the fuck are you doing? Like that. This is the clear movie where they have to do like FedM or Fed Easy or something, and like make a fake logo, but we all know what we're talking about. But they reached out to FedEx. Hey, we're thinking about doing this. Yeah, go fuck yourself. Nice try. You can do whatever you want. But no, you're not using our actual business logo and one of our own planes for the fucking movie.
It just makes you wonder how much they knew when they agreed to do it. Were they like...
Because all they probably heard is Tom Hanks in a solo movie on an island.
Right.
We would love to be associated with that.
Right. Like maybe one of our packages will wash ashore to him, or FedEx will save him.
And we'll be what gets him through this tough time. No, you almost kill the man, and you kill the 3 other employees that were on said plane.
No, I think you're right. You have to be right, honestly. I mean, there's other scenes though that I can't believe that they were willing to do. Like they do the SSI comments, Social Security, multiple times, and they talk about how it's basically gone for the people who it's intended to help, which is middle class, 60 to 75 working class people, and it's not there. But there's another thing that caught my attention right at the beginning of the movie, and at several points during this movie you see blazingly, I think they might have done some sort of filter when they were showing it. The American flag is prominent in this movie. It is like everywhere. You cannot escape that these groups of people are very patriotic, and they're very they're so patriotic. They're willing to they have very few possessions in life, but one of the few things they have is this symbol of loyalty to a country that hasn't done so much for them. I mean,
no, I'm willing to go much further than that. Has forsaken them to the point where they would rather drive vans around the desert in search of a better life than what the infrastructure of the United States has provided to them up until that point. And they would rather rely on Bob Wells for safety, for food, for community than the United States of America.
Yeah. I watched this movie with my little brother actually, and at one point, well, there's 2 funny parts that happened when I was watching this movie. My dad came in right at the beginning of the movie, and he's like, "Oh, it's her. I recognize her." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Frances McDormand." Telling about the movie, and just like 2 seconds later, she's taking a piss out in the middle of nowhere. And he's like, "Oh, she's pissing. Wonderful." And then he walked away. That was his whole experience at Nomadland.
Wonderful.
But other than that, the Bob Wells character, the instant she views his video for the first time in a something May's car, I can't remember, she appears multiple times, and he was just like, "Oh, he's full of shit." Like, no, for sure, this guy is like skimming money or property off of these people somehow. I don't know how, but somehow.
That's what I was gonna ask, because there's that sign that says free food. How is it getting there?
I have some thoughts.
What sort of, not a tax. We're not going to use the word tax, because God forbid that we do new taxes.
Right.
What community fee do you think that man is charging?
Do
we think he owns the land? Like, in my head, that dude's a billionaire.
Mine too.
And that dude goes from, just desert place to desert place to desert place, and just takes these people's money. Maybe I'm, just very jaded.
We're jaded. We are jaded. I mean, even the scene at the end, which like actually almost made me cry, where he's talking about his son and stuff.
Oh, I cried. I absolutely 100% cried.
It was a tough watch, but even as I'm watching, he's definitely like my theory is this. He's like someone who inherited a bunch of trailer parks from like his dad, who owned a bunch of trailer parks in the 30s. So he's never really had to work. So he has this free spirit about him that he's like, yeah, fuck it. I'll go live in a van for a while. And on the way, I'm going to make a bunch of money off these people, convincing them to stay in the places that I stay and pay those fees. Like, that strikes me as what happened here. He doesn't strike me as someone who like bought them from working hard in his life.
So you're saying, and I don't mean this as throwing shade, it's an intelligent move. He's the millionaire trial lawyer that walks in with like a Fossil watch.
Yes. Absolutely.
And like a boxy, like, Alfani jacket and all that stuff.
Because he's well spoken.
Yeah.
Like he's not like the rest of them, and it's not even a criticism. They sound they just don't sound very highly educated in this movie, and he sounds like he's been in some sophisticated circles.
He sounds like someone bought his way into an Ivy League school. Let's put it that way.
Yes, that was exactly what I was thinking. The scene, there's a couple scenes that stand out, and I'm going to try to touch on all of them, but God knows I'm going to forget a few.
Well, here, real quick, what sport do you think was put down on his resume that he played in order to get into Stanford?
Have you watched that documentary
Yes.
yet on Netflix? Okay, I highly recommend that documentary. First of all, it's so good. It's so infuriating. Like I had to take a walk after. I was so mad about all of it.
The chaotic energy that Matthew Modine brings to that character is just fantastic.
Yeah. What sport? I mean, he seems like someone they could actually convince played football because he's huge. He sort of has that just giant lower body to where it's like, he's a lineman.
See, I was getting more like discus vibe from him.
Discus.
See, yeah.
See, well, you're someone who watches more of the Olympics than I do. So when you think sports, I don't go as far as discus, but it's perfect.
It's not going to be a main sport.
Right. No, I know.
They're like, I'm sure there were horse racing people that they were putting out as, why, Villanova was going to give this person a scholarship. They got to get creative because nobody cares about the Oregon badminton team. And by the way, if Oregon badminton, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on, but I'm speaking truth to power right now.
No one gives a shit. But we love you and would love to have you on sometime.
We love you. You'd probably I know you could kick my ass at your sport, and that's fine.
No question.
I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
So we're going to do what was, to me, I think this was the second toughest scene, other than the end where she's talking to Bob Wells. In the middle of the movie where they're sitting around the fire and they're just like, why are you out here? What led you to be in this lifestyle? The Vietnam vet explains what he's going through with PTSD. And then he says at the end, I can live out here and be at peace, which is like really good writing. It's just insanely good writing. And then we get the story from the old lady who we find out later has cancer, I believe. She said,
Swanky.
Yeah, she tells the story about the guy that she worked with at her corporate office who bought the sailboat, who never got a chance to use it, who died 2 weeks before he was supposed to retire or something. And she delivers the line, I didn't want my sailboat in the driveway when I died.
Which is just amazing. So I was told by actually producer Chris, he was the first person to tell me to watch this movie. And he said, and I asked him, like, okay, so like, what should I eat during this movie? Like, what should I be taking? And he goes, just make sure you have some wine. This is a wine drinking movie. And maybe at the end, if you've had your fix of wine, maybe some scotch, but neat.
Yeah.
Like your alcohol consumption should be going as fast paced as this movie is and as full bodied as this movie is.
Yeah.
It's rough.
I mean, but you just touched on something. This movie actually moves very quickly for what it is, which is a movie where the central conflict is essentially life itself. There is no bad guy they're trying to beat. There's no simple conflict in this.
I would argue that there is a very apparent bad guy in this movie, but yes, there's no literal person standing there as the bad guy. Maybe our guy Bobby, maybe, but
maybe
not just right there to smack you in the face that he's the bad guy. He's not the Joker, for example.
No, this guy is, well, this movie, like I said earlier, it's so wistful. Like that was the word that kept coming through as it's hopeful.
That's a college word right there.
Yeah, no, I had to spend $100 and some odd $1,000 in debt to learn that word. I just taught it to you for free.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So but yeah, it is definitely hopeful. One other random fact about this movie. This is actually true. Frances McDormand blended into the community so well because they had like real nomads. She blended in so well that one of the people offered her an application for a job while she was there
Whoa.
because she started to become like one of them. So while a lot of the actors were staying at like Best Westerns in Quartzsite, which that's not very luxurious either, she was actually she was actually staying out in a van, sort of adopting the lifestyle, getting more familiar with it. So they just accepted her. They didn't know that she wasn't an extra. I wanted to ask you though.
Damn.
The camera shots in this movie are they're uncomfortably focused on people's faces, which is really hard to do well.
It's a lot like The Revenant with Alejandro González Iñárritu, what he does with the panning shots of of Leo, of Tom Hardy, and of Leo's kid. It's a lot of landscaping shots of just the environment around them. I very much liked the cinematography in this. Like I said, purely the cinematography made me feel romantic about a place that is so harsh, that is so nasty, that is so devoid of life by definition, that, you know, it was another level of filmmaking in that respect. That, like, Arizona was a character in the movie in the weirdest way possible.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to disagree on this movie a little bit, and which is good. The thing that I sort of disagree on is that I think while the book is about the plight of middle-class Americans, and I think that there's certainly, if you look close enough in this movie, enough material to see that theme throughout, especially with the people who have like health issues. They're like in slings just out there fucking, you know, that like the reason they're homeless is they had medical bills, presumably. So it's there, but it's not hitting you over the head with it. It's almost too, not too hopeful. But it almost is. And what I mean by that is it's trying to convince you throughout the movie that these people are actually like really, really happy with this alternative lifestyle that they've chosen. I mean, over and over again, you're hit over the head with it. Like Frances McDormand's offered to stay inside. I don't know how many times in this movie. She's like, no, I'm good. And she seems like sincere about it. It's not like a pride thing. It's just, no, I'm good. I'm really comfortable here and I'm doing just fine. Thank you. I mean, so my whole point with this movie is it's trying to say something more than just the obvious economic message that's present in it.
Sure. And I just think that, like I said before, the movie tried to very much make the point that all these people are here because they decided to be.
Mm-hmm.
That decision doesn't come up if the situation you're coming from isn't so unbelievably forsaken and just fucked because of the society that we currently live in. And the only seasonal job you can work at is the biggest example of what the problem is in America. Like the perfect personification of what's wrong with the current economic state of America is Amazon. And that's her only regular job she has in this entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is that she knows for a couple weeks in December she's gonna have a paycheck from Jeff Bezos, which is dark. Very, very, very dark, especially when the people that she's sitting at lunch with are all also nomads
and old.
Like she's not, and it's just, and the rest of the labor being done is by machines.
It was all it was all seniors too. Like,
yeah,
that was what that choice confounded. I mean, there's not a young person other than the person she reads Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 to. he's like the only young
Which-
person in this entire movie.
Yeah, which it is a choice.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
is
it
a
is.
choice. And rare a time do I see quoting Shakespeare and it being done well.
Yes.
Hell, I've even seen it done an entire movie and it's
Yeah.
not done well. Namely, Shakespeare in Love. It's a hard watch, but
Yeah.
but like it's actually done well because Francis McDormand is so just good, and it's done at a point that like that's like you and I know a few of these types of people. That's the type of shit that they say. That's how they talk.
Yes.
And that's like it brings them solace into their life choices. Now, if Francis McDormand's character, if Fern is truly happy, who am I? Because happiness is not one of the ways that I would currently describe my life right now. But, are we sure? Are
That's
we
the thing.
sure?
That's the thing. It is not conclusive, I think, whether or not, because when she's talking to that kid, that's the best evidence we have that she's maybe not as happy as she seems, because she's trying to get him to go back to society. She's like, you must have a girlfriend. She must worry. Are your parents worried about you? She's like reluctant to give him the light when she first meets him, even though she'll smoke with anybody. But for this kid, it's like, I don't know that I should aid this habit here. So that's the one moment that I can point to and be like, she clearly knows deep down somewhere that this is not a lifestyle that she would thrust upon someone she cares about, I think.
Yeah. And the lifestyle choice was only made until after the two most important people in her life died.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it was a decision that she ended up making for herself, and a decision that kind of was thrust upon her given the economic status of where she where she
Pinkies
was pinkies up, where she was living, and the entire town got shut down. So it's tough. It's a tough movie because in multiple scenes we're talking about suicide, we're talking about cancer, we're talking about the boat on the driveway, we're talking about all these themes and all these ideas of like, hey, we are past our prime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How can we manage expectations and still live a fulfilling life for however much longer that we actually have? It's like, it is a heavy ass movie. And in multiple occasions, I'm laughing. Multiple occasions, I'm crying. And multiple occasions, I'm screaming at my television when we just leave a dog hide out in front of an ice cold office building.
Yeah, that was tough. She doesn't do anything for the dog. She's just like, oh, hey.
No.
I don't even think she pets it. She's just like, oh, that's interesting. The dog's just out here.
Pet the damn dog and help him.
Yeah, no, that dog needs help. That dog is screaming for help.
Like, I feel like the treatment of that dog was similar to the wolf at the end of Game of Thrones. It was just like, what have they done to you?
Yeah.
What? Right. How about you help them? How about you give them a pet?
Right.
Like that's. Do you understand how happy that creature will be if you just cared a little bit?
Plus, there was room in that little shack that they were.
There was more than enough room.
Yeah.
She had a kitchen. She had a bathroom. No, I'm kidding. But no, I mean that pissed me off. But the one question I did have, and I'm gonna go to the end of the movie. So if you had anything that you wanted to hit before that.
Yeah, the one thing that I just wanted to touch on briefly, the Sonnet 18 by Shakespeare. Most people will recognize the first few lines of it. It's his most recognizable sonnet he's ever written. The idea behind it, though, you've already touched on, but the idea behind that poem is beauty doesn't last. Nothing lasts forever. everything fades. The only thing that lasts forever is this sonnet that I'm writing to you. In essence, only our words and what we do last, but we don't, and nothing else really does, not even nature. And there's a lot of that going on in this movie.
Yeah, and even then, society doesn't even last.
Yes.
As we see with the city that she built a life in.
Yes.
So, it's relationships and ideas and shit that we write down. That's the only stuff that outlives us.
That's it.
And the fact that in 2021, we are still, after it being poorly done for years upon years, we are still attempting to do the tactful Shakespeare quote. Perfectly shows that that's the only type of thing that lasts.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is.
And it's done well.
It's
so like, it's like, it's right there. It's a perfect example of how it can work if done with the right people.
Yes. Yeah. You have to really build. I'm with you. All right. Let's talk about the end.
So the movie starts out them explaining that, Fern loses her job at a company called U.S. Gypsum.
Yeah, Gypsum.
In Empire, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you heard of U.S. Gypsum or Empire, Nevada?
Neither. No.
Okay.
I would guess they're not even real places, but go ahead.
I believe, Empire is real.
Okay.
Empire's real. I'm doing some really quick research here.
Sorry for the people in Empire who I just said, you matter. Okay. We love you, Empire. If you're out there listening.
U.S. Gypsum is a thing as well. USG headquartered in Chicago. One of the few places that they're probably incorporated in Delaware. I'm sure they are. But, they exist as well. Again, tough PR moves for both the city of Empire or town or whatever they are and that company. Again, y'all are dropping the ball heavily.
Yes. Heavily
dropping the ball. So never heard of any of those, but we are introduced to, it was this, it was basically a town that was set up around this business and a town that's set up around this company. Yep. And the company goes, or the town goes as the company goes.
Mm-hmm.
And after the crash of 2008, and, they held on for a little bit because they made a point of saying that it shut down in 2011. So they tried.
Right.
For better or for worse. They had all these houses set up. They had the entire place that was centered around the nucleus of this business. The business goes down. Everyone's benefits, everything is gone.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about the economic policy behind that until we're blue in the face. However, this is a movie podcast. So that town completely shuts down. We go the entire movie where there's not a whole lot of reference to it. There is a couple references to it when she's, kind of giving background to some of the people that she meets throughout her story arc. We then go back to the town, or lack thereof now, at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I thought about this, then I want to get your thoughts on this. The question that I asked myself was, okay, I love, as you know, Tim, I like the sort of ending where you start type of stuff, which is why the end of Endgame just ran me over like a freight train. But ending at that town and finally showing it to us, by the way, in earnest for the first time. We had gotten glances of it, but really showing it to us and really bringing us there for the first time. I saw it as a sign that she still is longing for the life that she had.
Yep.
She is still longing to be with her husband. She is still longing to be with her son. She is still longing to living in that house.
Yeah.
She is still longing to still be living in a town that is essentially owned by this business. For me, the ending was not satisfying at all, in the sense that I thought it couldn't get worse with how dependent these people are on some of the biggest companies in the world, being Amazon and whatnot. But then then be again slapped in the face that this person's entire life was completely overturned because a business failed while investment bankers were
Mhm.
stealing from the American people and actually hurting people like Fran in this movie. And
Yes.
so the ending, while Chloe Zhao, the final shot with
Mhm.
her walking out the of the backyard, or whatever you want to call that, because she had said, yeah, we had the corner lot, you could look over to the mountain, and that was peace. So
Okay.
in that sense, the character does find a sort of peace. I think that's what it's meant to convey. I didn't get that, obviously, but to see like the empty conference room, to see the empty plant, to see all those empty houses, it's like that's what you would think in like not the US.
Mhm.
And it's right here.
Yeah.
It's in Nevada. Like you can get to that in a couple hours, and it's just depressing.
Yeah.
It's such a depressing, it's such a truthful, it's such an honest telling of the current economic situation in this country that, again, I know I mentioned the Stockholm syndrome thing with her van, but the true Stockholm syndrome that this character feels is to this energy company and to this track house that they made for her in order for her and her husband to produce for them. It's just it the more I thought about this movie, the more just sad I was.
Yeah.
And sorry, I just said
No. It's good because it gave me a chance to kind of get my thoughts together on this. I've been thinking about this a lot. There's a moment, I want to say it's towards the end of the movie, where they talk about why she won't take off her wedding ring, right? And the person who she's talking to talks about, well, a wedding ring is a circle. It never ends. It keeps going around and around and around. That is, although subtly put, clearly the overarching framework by which this movie operates, because it is a circle. It goes back to the beginning. And I couldn't help but think, being back in the town and sort of seeing the carnage there, it is not lost on me that these types of things are circles, that there is a lack of learning lessons from things that go wrong, and that eventually most people end up back where they were in some shape or form because they don't learn.
This shit happened in the 30s. This
Yes.
shit happened in the 40s. This shit happened in the 70s. And this shit is still happening now.
Yes.
And it's going to continue to happen because of the lack of honesty in what certain policies actually result in.
I agree. No, I couldn't escape the theme of economics with this movie. I mean, as much as I tried to see other things, it's clearly trying to beat you over the head with this, that this is going to happen again. This is not rare. This is not new. This type of lifestyle isn't new. This nomadic lifestyle, I did a little bit of reading on it, but I'm sure there's more I could have done. This is like going back to like the 1600s. There were people who lived this way, who are like, I'm never buying property. I don't want to settle in one place. I'm just going to keep moving. Back in the day, it was with a wagon, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, even like there's religions that was their entire philosophy. Like the Mormon faith, that's what their whole deal was that they were just going to keep moving around in order to spread their faith. Like this is not a new thing, and it's not. It's just a circle. And
Yeah.
for the podcast listeners, not the YouTube listeners, Tim's just making a circle motion with his finger. That's exactly what this is, because we start where we end where we start, and in the middle, some shit happens that continues to remind us where we began. It continues to remind us where we were about to end, and she keeps getting odd jobs, not all that better than the last, and not all that better paying than the last. And the only shroud of hope and happiness that she gets is when she runs into Dave, is when she runs into everyone's favorite, Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne guy.
Right.
Which, what a casting. Because all I could think of is just, oh my God. Yeah, no, this guy's in the war room looking at cameras trying to find out where Jason Bourne is. But, that aside, David Strathairn, he did a great job, but that's just, my own little psychosis during the movie. But like, that's the only bit of hope that we get, and she just fucking leaves.
Yeah, that's
because
what I
she
mean.
has to get back in that fucking van.
There's no reconciliation with the sister, with the brother-in-law, with any
and there
of her
isn't
family.
supposed to be.
She never makes up with Dave. She like freaks out on him at one point in this movie, and he's still into her.
The moment that I knew when she wasn't gonna stay is when she goes out to have a cigarette with, I forget what the relationship of the person she goes out there and smokes with is, but Dave really likes you and we're really happy to have you. Yep. Nope, that's it. You just that's the death knell right there. She's leaving.
Yeah.
Because now you just slapped her across the face with, this could be your life forever. Oh my God, stay. She's not going to do that, especially now.
No, and
because she's going to feel guilty. If she decided to stay with Dave, all she would feel is guilt.
And
because of her husband, because of her son. She doesn't want to make a new life.
That scene was heartbreaking. It was just ripped out of my chest type moment, because I felt the exact same thing. As soon as she said that, I was like, you watch her reaction to it and you're like, oh fuck, she's about to bail. And
the nonverbal reaction that the actor does to convey an idea that the character is supposed to do is at the level of Chris Pine in one of our earlier reviews, Hell or High Water. When you see the actor do something with their eyes, something with their face, they furrow their brow in a certain way or whatever. I'm not smart enough to quite pinpoint what it is, but they do something to where I just it screams at me. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's the show me, don't tell me. They didn't need to tell me that Chris Pine and his brother haven't said "love you, brother" before. They didn't have to tell me that.
Nope.
You could just feel the awkwardness. They didn't have to tell me. They didn't have to tell me that Frances McDormand was going to leave.
No,
they didn't, because you knew the entire movie. You knew the entire movie. She was there to see him.
Mm-hmm.
That was it, because she had nowhere else to go at that time. And she wasn't feeling as much wanderlust possibly as she does, 20 minutes after she gets there.
Right. We usually do the gimmick where do the love interest end up together, but there's no discernible reason to do it in this movie, because of course they don't. I mean, they're going to run into each other, I imagine. I don't think Dave's long for that type of lifestyle either.
I think he is. I think he is.
He did kind of walk out on his own kid to keep pursuing. I mean, I know that he's older now and more mature, but a lot of his history kind of suggests that he's like, this is great, I'm going to be here. Just kidding. I can't resist. Like, I get the fuck out of here.
And plus, okay, he's probably not going to stay because Jason Bourne's going to rip him out of his current life.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's a good point.
Right.
He's going to end up in DC soon enough. So yeah, his family's just going to continue to hate him. So, a couple other things. If there was anyone in this movie, who would you want to be?
None of them. Not a single one of them. I mean, that lifestyle is there is a piece of me that thinks that I could do it for a few weeks, But then I come
There's
back
no
to reality.
piece. There's no piece of
I'm
me.
soft. I'm soft as hell. I'm not good at camping. I don't really like it because I'm like, why would I go backwards in time? It's just not.
You know what you know what I can't do in the middle of the desert in Quartzsite, Arizona? I can't record a podcast. I can't watch a movie. I can't, I don't have a stove that's gonna quite get me to where I need to be food wise. Like I need a gym. I have creature comforts. And as I say and by the way, Tim, you want to ask me so that the listeners understand where I'm currently calling in from?
I was gonna save it. I was gonna save it for after the Ted Cruz Award. I was gonna get into
perfect.
I mean,
okay, cool. No, that's perfect.
Yeah. No.
So to answer my question, since I'm awful at doing that, if there was someone that I would want to be in this movie. So since Amazon's in the movie, that implies the existence of Jeff Bezos, right?
He's there somewhere lurking.
He's somewhere. Cave. Yeah. So if I could pick to be Jeff Bezos, because there's nobody in this fucking movie I would want to be.
Right.
There isn't a single person that I would want, except for actually. The guys that were sitting in the backyard at Fran's sister's house that were talking about how much money they made during the 2008 recession.
Or how much they wish they could have if they had more. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, oh man, I would love to be just sitting there when there's a person that, had their life ripped out from under them. Their entire life ended. For you to have the lack of self-awareness to be talking about the opportunity you either had or could have had during the worst period of her time or of her life. Wow. To aspire to that level of just ignorance would just be fantastic. And to own a home, since I'm not going to do that for another 40 years, if that.
That is why, without further ado, we're going to do our special award, which is the Ted Cruz Go Fuck Yourself award. That was my best impersonation I could do.
Thank you.
My Go Fuck Yourself award. Those two guys in the backyard.
That's a perfect segue.
No reservation. Perfect. No reservation. There's nothing that I would never want to hang out with you. You're wearing like these cheap ass dad polos in the backyard, and you clearly think you're richer than you actually are.
Was one of them wearing a life vest? And you know what I'm talking about? Was one of them wearing one of those?
I think yes. There was one of them that had the life vest on.
And if not, he might as well have.
Douchebag. Those two.
Like they're
I know those two.
Yes.
I know who they are. I don't have friends. I have people in my life that are exactly like those two.
The type of person has the type of person has a nicer car than they do a house.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what makes them wealthy.
Yes. That is, those people can go fuck themselves. Do you even have is there even a different answer in this movie? Maybe Bob Wells. Bob Wells is a close runner-up, maybe.
Hold on. You're going to like this. So for those listening on both YouTube and the pod, this is not a repeat of what I just said just a minute ago. So, Tim, there's Amazon in this movie, right? So that implies an existence of Jeff Bezos, correct?
You're really stretching this one. Yeah. This is really not the purpose of this at all. But yeah, go ahead.
I would punch Jeff Bezos in the face for everything that he has done just in general.
On behalf of America.
Yes, on behalf of America, if I may be so bold. But actually, the person that I would probably like to, no, not probably, I'm not qualifying. The person that I would most like to punch in this movie, and it's a controversial take, because I'm assuming that clerk that's in that office building doesn't help the dog. Doesn't help the dog.
Wow.
Public enemy number one. There is only one bad thing that happens to a dog in this movie. I'm coming after you. I'm coming after you because that is not okay.
He's like running an RV.
Yeah. I'm gonna punch a minimum wage employee, Tim. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you didn't help the dog. You tied up the dog in freezing temperatures and let it sit there.
I mean, it was like an active snowstorm. Like it
Yes.
wasn't just cold outside.
So-
It was like
so
actively
you know what?
snowing.
Yeah. Since the life vest guys are already getting punched, yeah. And by the way, everyone that just walks by, that just leaves the dog there, if they could just
Tough.
line up for me, that would be
Right.
fantastic.
Right.
So, anyways,
Tough.
yeah, the Ted Cruz Award goes to anyone that leaves that fucking dog there because that dog deserves better.
So I know you've been dying for me to ask you this question the entire pod. And it's why I saved it at the end. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to build up some tension, as you know.
Absolutely.
As you know.
Absolutely.
Tony, based on your background, the YouTube audience
Yes.
can see this. The podcast
Yes.
can't. You are clearly in a different place than you
I-
are normally
Yes.
recording from. Would you please inform the audience of where you have been this last week?
So truly in basically telling the world that I am in fact the person who's wearing the douchey life vest over the button down with the sleeves rolled up and the the what are those boots called that guys have started to wear, the dress boots? Chelsea boots?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a look.
Yeah, that's it truly just telling on myself. I'm actually calling from the state of Hawaii,
Mhm.
from the island of Kauai,
Mhm.
and I am badly
Tough there.
sunburned. I am badly sunburned. The internet connection just isn't as good.
Right.
You know, it's
tough.
really tough.
That is
It's
tough.
really tough out here
Yep.
in these streets.
In these streets of Kauai. Well, we're happy that you could still record there, thanks to the benefits of modern technology.
Because I've got some Apple products. I've got some adapters. I'm doing okay.
Just had to flex that. Not just technology. I have Apple technology.
I do. It's really fantastic. As I just got done with yelling at Jeff Bezos and corporate America and investment bankers. Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Well, you're just a nomad, Tony. You've embraced the lifestyle.
Exactly. I've got my life in my suitcase. That's just what I'm doing now.
Exactly. You saw this movie and you were like going to Hawaii.
I gotta
Like
get out of here.
That one
I gotta
scene
get out of here.
where they're at the RV show and they got like the really nice
Yep.
RV and they're like, let's go to Hawaii. And then the other chick's like, there's definitely water in between here and there.
And my instant thought was, I need to go to Southwest.
Right.
I need to go to their website and see how much
Right.
it costs.
Right. That about does it for us this week. Tim has a very important thing that he has to go to that he might be telling us about later on a separate pod.
Is it you know what? I'm gonna let that sit there.
We're gonna let it simmer because I'm always curious to see who listens to the end because they get some interesting content here.
Okay.
Tony, where can they find you?
They can find me at tfelix3412.
Mhm.
There was some rumbling about where we could find producer Chris. Producer Chris is not on social.
He's off the grid. I didn't
he
just
is
not
off
tag
the
him.
grid.
I'm not a dick.
Yeah.
I would have tagged
Yeah.
him if I could have found him. He's just not, he's off the grid.
For all video and audio editing inquiries, just reach out to us so that we can tell you no, so that he can continue to give us his time.
Like telling people no.
Love it. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
I'm
Then
also
where can they find you?
I'm also on social media, as it turns out. I'm on Instagram, the Twitter, Google. Hey, what's that Google one they had for a while? It's all the same. At TLeduc32. That's at TLEDUC32. Be sure to follow my MySpace.
Now they can MySpace, Friendster,
Yes.
all that good stuff. Our YouTube channel, everybody.
Sorry.
We could not get the Tim and Tony podcast. It was already taken because it's such a great name. It's such a fantastic name.
It's really original.
Yeah. Tim and Tony Pod is the YouTube channel.
Yes.
But if you're looking to just get audio only, it is still the Tim and Tony podcast. I believe we both have links pretty much everywhere. So, you can find a breadcrumb to bring you wherever you need to bring you. Yeah. What are we doing next, Tim?
Oh, but do I get to pick this time? I thought it was yours.
Is it? Well, I'm gonna give it to you.
Okay, because
I'm gonna let you control my fate here.
I'm about to spring one on you.
Oh,
So
okay.
we are going to be doing our first animated movie next week.
Oh, this is fantastic. This is fantastic.
We're going to be doing a Pixar movie.
Oh,
We are going to be doing 1995's Toy Story.
yes, yes. I was so hoping
We're gonna do it.
that was. Oh my god.
We're going to do it. It's time. It's time.
Absolutely.
It's ready to go.
Is there any way we can? Is there any way we can just swap Chris Evans for Tim Allen now?
No. This will not be kid friendly, despite it being a kid friendly movie.
And by the
gonna
way, the
purposefully
people
try-
that truly love this movie, they're our age.
That's right. That's right.
This movie is slightly older than both of us.
That's right. Don't show it to your kids though, because we're not pulling any punches.
No, we have that E next to it for a reason.
Legally.
'Cause we're getting fucking deep in that movie.
Deep. All right, everybody. We will see you next time. Elvis,
Real quick, Tim.
Yes.
Do we have a guest, or is it just going to be us two again?
It's just us.
Because there was some rumbling that you were going to be bringing on.
We have a huge ass movie that we're going to bring a guest on. Like it's a musical
movie.
It's a musical, one of the best of all time. It's going to be a big show. We have to say that.
Is it possibly have a French name?
I don't know if it's French. I think it's.
You would know if the movie that I'm getting at. You would know.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's
not
overtly French.
Yeah, no, it's not that one. It's not that one. But we will do that one.
Okay.
We will do that one.
Okay. I'm excited then. If it's not it's not our favorite musical and it's not a French musical, I'm interested to know what musical it is. So in that sense, you're going to get to spring that on me as well. I'm very much looking forward to talk to that guest. Now, we are at some point, whenever I actually get to pick the movie next, we're going to try and get the singer-songwriter of the song that we are now using as our intro and outro. However, since we have not had that movie happen yet, he is not going to come on yet, but he will. You guys will get to meet him. So without further ado, please, Elvis Monroe, play us out, and Ted Cruz from all of America, go fuck yourself.
One day, someday, fiction girl. She's my one day, someday. She's my one day, someday. Gotta have her, gonna call her baby. One day, someday. She's gonna call me baby, gonna have a family. I can see it in her eyes. Our future's so bright. Gonna wake up by your side. One day, someday. She's my one day, someday. Fiction girl. She's my one day, someday.